Hey guys, today just kind of a grab bag. I have been at this location a little bit longer than I thought. I didn't really plan my soaps out to go this far, but that's okay because I've got a bunch of soaps anyway. But I was doing a run where I was evaluating soaps because of my COVID nose and not really being able to fully appreciate those soaps that had amazing scents that were just, you could savor them. I'm not able to do that at this point, although I'm guessing maybe 70% might be where my nose is right now, and so that's pretty cool. I think I'm 6 weeks after the after COVID exposure, and so that's what I've been doing is playing with some soap bases for the last while that I didn't really they didn't really have sophisticated scents, or for whatever reason I never got around to, and I thought I would kind of take another look back at the base. And this one kind of falls in that category. This is, as you can see, a put in my own container here, and it's the Aqua, and it's the Omega brand of shaving soap, and it comes in a big, seems like it's big, ball kind of ball, a hard puck, and it performs really well. I think it flies under a lot of radars. I got these. I got this one, and I got another one for just a few dollars during a sale a couple of years ago. And wow, it performs really well, and it's huge, and it lasts a long time. Obviously, you can see the blade. See, when you order from tryblade.com and they send you a sampler, you can't tell the difference between the personas because some of them had the same wrapper. So they put these cool stickers on them. This is the Med Prep, and is a popular blade out there that some guys really love. And you can read online more about that. Now, this soap was actually kind of difficult to, unless I wanted to shred it down, to find a container for it, because it was, you can see the bottom half is dry because the water has sealed it. And there's this ridge around the soap, and it would actually be maybe a little bit tricky to find a container that matches it exactly, unless you may altered the soap somehow. But I'm sure there's something out there that Omega has put together, right? Well, we're going to keep using the Paladin Kanorado Indigo brush here, the PK-47 style, and he's been soaking for several minutes. Let me get him back in the water. I'm liking his slightly jelly tips. I got a hair in my mouth. They're soft enough to be enjoyed and appreciated, but I don't feel like I've got a bunch of sponges that I'm slopping around in my face. So to me, it might be really close to the right amount of gel for my own preferences. Carve Christopher Bradley, stainless razor here, and this is the A plate. And I just felt, this grab bag, I just kind of grabbed it. I had it with me. I haven't used it very much because I just got it recently. And I love my carved brass. And if I had to choose, I would probably choose the brass. I'm trying to hold too many things in my hands at once. I would probably choose the brass. But this one came along at a good price, and this is the number one. This is the first one that rolled off of the line, apparently. And if you look underneath, it's got serial number and stuff stamped in there, or the maker number and all that. So here's what the Personna looks like, the Med Prep blade. And yeah, it says for medical use, made in the USA, stainless steel, that sort of thing, kind of ink stamped in a we don't care, this is not for consumers kind of way. I was doing some research about another Personna blade, and I came across a post that was quite old, and it was talking about the Med Preps and how they were only available from medical supply stores for a long time. I think that's what I was reading. And then the people realized that they liked the way they shaved. All right, so we have the A plate. This is the stainless A plate, and this will be interesting to compare with the AA open comb I've been using recently. A few shaves ago. I've been using the Pearl lately. All right. This soap just really surprised me. It may still have a little bit of the logo. Yeah, just a touch of the logo. It says Aqua on it right there. Now, if I turn it sideways, will the contrast of the light there? Nah, there's too much light in the wrong directions. Oh well. Yeah, and if I found a better container for this, I would definitely switch and shave it down and that kind of thing. Now, you know what turned out to be kind of cool? Sometimes you don't want a lot of water to stay in these guys, and this one actually had a bit of a broken edge to it, and so there's a tiny bit of air that's able to get in, and so that kind of works to keep the soap from sitting in water. All right, we're going to load for 45 seconds. It may not need that much, but it hasn't been used in a long time, so there's pretty much no residual water left in there. Got my face wet. Pull out the brush, shake a lot of the water out. You can see it's kind of jelly a little bit, the way the tips clump together like that. All right, so 45 seconds, sounds good. We'll start at the 55 mark. Yeah, it's, bubbling up pretty quickly. So I bet I don't have to load for 45 seconds. So this brush is, and the water stirring up. Why don't we just try a 30-second load, which means right now, I kind of think that might work. I can always go back for more. Now, I've noticed that this brush has more backbone than like the High Mountain Whites I was using before that made the Pereira bowl, shirt and bowl match, you got to have that. That make the Pereira bowl seem a little bit small. But this is a knot that has a lot more density, and it has backbone due to that density. And so it might not feel cramped in this bowl. It's a great sign when the suds that you wash off the side of the container just feel super slick, right? And I forgot that I had put via Barberia. I had put the label that came on the soap on the bottom of the bowl there. So that is the line of hard omega soaps that we're dealing with here. Okay, so let's see how I'm kind of in a little bit of hurry today. So we'll just get busy. Pereira bowls are just a little bit smaller than my usual gray 3D printed bowl that I so often use. I do enjoy the quieter sound from this bowl. I was talking with somebody, I think it was maybe Illuminati on the online, and his gripe about the Pereira bowl was this channel right here. And so if you mixed up a bunch of lather, you'd kind of have some of the lather start to try to leave the bowl. And this is my workaround for that. I kind of tilt the bowl a little bit, keeping that channel on the high side. Now, of course, that does reduce the size of the bowl, but it does address that problem somewhat. I could take a piece of tape, because I don't use that as a brush rest. It does work for some brushes, but not all. And to be honest, even back when I was trying to use it as a brush rest, it kind of takes a little bit more care to place the brush exactly in the right spot. And then sometimes when I was placing the brush down in the bowl, it was on my sink right here. It hangs over the trash can, and I actually had the brush slip out a couple of times because I wouldn't hit the right balance point or something like that. And so it's just kind of much easier to just put it in the bowl like that. And thanks to the dots and things at the bottom of this bowl, it doesn't slip down in, cause any problems. This is a really enjoyable lather from what I recall, and I sure can feel a great sense of slickness and slight creaminess as I'm working it up here. I try to go backwards on a regular basis, but it doesn't take me too long to switch back to my default, right? Looks pretty good. I can't remember if I need to keep this one a little drier. So why don't we just use it? Since I am in a little bit of a hurry. So that was just a little over 3 minutes of working the lather. I was curious about that, so I kind of watched the clock a little bit today. I mean, that's not too bad. That's not excessive. I'm just curious. On average, I might start trying to track that somehow. Just see how long it takes me to work up a lather. Some people think because of my longer videos, you know, I can go for 35 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, but I think that's usually because I do a lot of commentary. I've found some kind of topic that I really want to cover with you guys, you know, and sometimes it's because I'm working a lather. Maybe I've overshot with the loading, and so, man, you got to really add the water to make everything balance back out. But I'm curious what my average might be. I don't know how I would keep track of that. I'd have to write it down somewhere during the shave, I guess. I don't like to rewatch the video just for that. You know, that would, I do daily videos, you know, for the most part. And so I don't edit them. I just kind of post the whole video. I don't add introductory pages or anything like that. Because that would take time each day, and I'd probably have to switch to policies like other YouTubers where maybe they post once a week or something like that if I really had to put more work into the video itself. Now we're kind of stirring up some nice lather here around the side of the brush. I don't want it just to fall out, so I'm going to get rid of kind of one side of that into the lather bowl. Yeah, it feels very nice. Oh yeah, very slick. So, I mean, I'll bet full price this stuff is just a tremendous deal. Now, this is a blue, they call it Aqua, but it's kind of a blue type scent. You know, that Aqua Velva type traditional blue type scent that so many guys have tried to create their own version of. So if that's a scent profile, the pattern that you enjoy, then, yeah, see, look, that means we could probably add a little bit more water. We wanted to. Oh yeah, this brush enjoys this lather here. The core is quite stout. There's a lot of backbone there, and I believe I like these bristles if they were maybe not quite as dense. I think it would be an even better brush for me, but I believe the density for these bristles is coming, the backbone is coming because of the density. Now, look here, these are some signs that I could definitely add water if I needed to. We've got kind of some grouping right here. Hey guys, I had an interruption there. I left off with a thought, but then I had a phone call. Sorry. What I was able to do during the call was actually keep working the lather on my face. Now, if you've been paying attention, it looks very different right now. Well, that's because I saw it becoming more and more dry. I was kind of mixing the lather more, you know, and it was kind of generating more lather. You saw the amount that I kept scraping off into the bowl. And now look at all this lather from that. I'm really glad I stopped at 30 seconds, right? Oh man, just because this puck hasn't been used in a long time, the soap really does come up off of it easily. And so, and it does look like in this case, this brush and the Pereira bowl are a good match. It's not too big. It doesn't splay too big, that sort of thing. And I did not add any more water to the bowl, but I did have to add some water to the brush because it was just kind of feeling a little too thick. And so right now we're looking at about 20 milliliters of water used in total for the whole thing. Now here's a cool thing. As a result of that phone conversation, I've had this lather sitting on me now. Only now, it was probably a 10-minute conversation. Only now is it starting to say, hey, you've got soap on your face, buddy. But it's been very comfortable, and so I don't think it's going to bother sensitive skin folks. I'm enjoying that blue kind of traditional scent that this one has. The Barrister Man Reserve has that one. It's not called blue, is it? Cool. It's called Cool. That's that whole Aqua Velva type family. And there are some other scents out there that are definitely tracking. I think Stirling has a blue as well. I don't think it's very strong though. And so, boy, this is a really slick soap. I'm really enjoying this. I don't know if Omega contracts out somebody else to make this, but it's kind of a dark horse in this shaving soap zone here, especially in the dwindling category of good hard soap makers. I think it was Maggard that had a special on this one, on this type of soap a couple of years ago, around the Black Friday time frame. All right, so you can see it is dissipating a little bit. We're losing the opaqueness in several areas, but I am not concerned about that at all, because I'll bet that what's right up next to the skin is still, no, you know what? I are wrong. So, you know what we'll do? I mean, it was like a 10, probably 15 minutes by now conversation. So that's no problem. We can just refresh it. Refresh the lather with something from the brush here. And the brush just is really agreeing with this lather. The brush feeling very soft. Here, these tips being just right. About 24 hours of growth today, so kind of a normal amount. Shaving it a weird lunch kind of time frame like I did yesterday. All right, so this is the A closed comb with a Personna Med Prep. Oh, that is nice. Oh yeah. Ooh. I do not recall the Med Prep being this enjoyable. So this A blade is one of my favorites in the early days, and I've been talking about the Karve in the comments recently, because one of the things that's surprising me about that AA open comb is the amount of blade feel I'm getting. It is their mildest open comb base plate, and man, it seems like, because I have the open comb base plate with the A and the B, it really seems like the AA open comb has more blade feel than the other two, and it's supposed to be milder, so I'm gonna have to do some comparisons, right? But yeah, there's less blade feel here than with the AA open comb, and so I think in that case it does seem like it's more than one step different. Karve says that if you compare a solid bar with an open comb, you can step down to get the same open comb feel. So if you've got a B solid bar, then an A open comb should have kind of a similar feel and efficiency, that sort of thing. And sometimes those two values, feel and efficiency, sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they do differ quite a bit, especially with the Karve, because that good blade clamping right close to the edge, it can be very efficient because of the smoothness of the blade and the rigidity of it. It can cut very well, but be very smooth because of that lack of vibration of the tiny blade edge, microscopically speaking. And so I'm really curious how this is going to feel during the shave with the A solid bar compared to the AA open comb that I've used most recently. I did not add any more water to the bowl. Sometimes when I add a good bit of water to the brush, I will then add a little bit to the bowl, and sometimes you should do that, but lately, if it's just a little bit of water that I have to add, I'm kind of I'm going to try and see what happens. Of course, I mixed it up first to see what it looked like. And let me show you kind of the elasticity we're dealing with here. It's not super elastic. Now, that, of course, that's more elastic than some. We got a little bit of stretch. Oh, we got a little bit of gloss to it. There are some micro bubbles, you know. I need to add that to my lather attribute list. All right, the razor is moving easily and quickly with this very slick lather. The Personna double-edged blades are a bit of a headache because there are some different varieties, and some of them were made of different plants, like the Israeli Reds, which were made in Israel before, and it was easy to identify them because you could look at the country of manufacture. Nice smooth pass there. You could feel the edge, I mean, just a tiny bit. Very comfortable. And then with the Personna blades, you've got the Med Preps and the Lab Blues. You've got some that say comfort coated, and sometimes it's really difficult to narrow down good information about this. There are some good threads out there, but sometimes they're hard to find because you've got to weed through all those guys who say that they're the same, when all they mean is they feel the same to me. And obviously that is highly subjective, and so that's not helpful. It's quite distracting, and it kind of can perpetuate myths and false information. Man, I've got tons of soap here. This is the third pass, and I've got 3 or 4 passes of lather still here. How does this soap feel in my fingers? Good question, you ask. I'm glad I didn't add any more water to the bowl. It's I do get a light soapy slickness that you can tell, man, this is going to be a good shaving soap. It's not very creamy at all at this point. And so the soap in the bowl may be a little bit more wet than I would like for a creamy feel, but it's almost perfect for the face, for how I want the razor to behave, that sort of thing. You've got these Personas that kind of have a blue label on them, but then the text is red that says platinum. Either the Med Prep or the Lab Blues. I believe maybe it's the Lab Blues that are the same as the Med Prep, but they've gone through an extra step of kind of cleaning, like a sanitization step. Yeah, it feels really nice. That's a good soap, guys. Now, the only people I could see that might have a gripe with this soap would be guys who are just highly focused on some kind of post-shave experience. And in that case, they're kind of gravitating toward the new batches of artisan soaps that have all kinds of butters and oils and things like that in them, moisturizers. But I mean, really, this is a terrific soap. I think it's very underrated. I just don't see people raving about this very much. Let's get a good rinse now. And that was an enjoyable rinse. All right. Good slick feels as I wash the lather away. Pretty nice secondary slickness on this one. And it worked really well with the Paladin. Kind of a dense knot. What I was talking about with the Paladin, give it a quick rinse here. Now this is a dense brush, and so my usual warning about, man, make sure you really get and rinse it out. Give it some extra time rinsing because it can have stuff in the middle. And sometimes that's a good sign when you kind of sling it out in the sink and it still kind of clumps like that in the middle. If you move it like this and you can kind of feel the soap right there, then keep at it. Keep rinsing. They do clump a little, but when the clumping differs quite that much between the outer skirts there that we're able to rinse easily versus the core, then you know it's more likely that you need to rinse more soap out of it. But for my purposes of illustration, I want to leave it there. I'll finish the rinse in a second. So like some boar brushes, like my Zenith B23, the bottom half of the bristles, maybe around this range, because of the density, really seem to have that backbone that's a little more than medium. But then the tips start to have more flex, as you can see, and it's pretty easy to get them to flex during the shave. And so that makes for an enjoyable experience for me. And so then this dense knot then becomes something I do like to use, but I'm reminded because of this kind of dense core here that, you know, it's no high mountain white, it's no silver tip, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm really continuing to enjoy this brush. And so just to illustrate my point about the density inside there, I gave it a really good rinse. And so now look, we don't have that same white core that we did before. I gave it a sling out, and now this pretty much looks just like the outside as well. We do have a little tiny point right here, but that's not a big deal. You can see you can kind of split it up. And sometimes you will have your tips, if they're really jelly, you will feel them and they seem like maybe they have some soap on them, but it's just because they're gelled up and they haven't dried yet. And so, but just give it a good rinse, and if after a little while it doesn't change, then you've probably realized that it's part of the gel and not more soap in there. But when in doubt, rinse it some more. And that's one of the reasons I like a bowl. I hold this under the water and I can make sure that the whole knot is submerged while I am working it back and forth and exercising and getting the water to come in and out of the brush, instead of just doing it in my hand with running water over it. I know that the water is just surrounding it totally and getting that lather out. And when I hold it side by side like this, the water can flow in and then out the bottom side. And then so I continually get a nice fresh supply of water for a good complete rinse. Now we'll strop that on a towel. And here's what it looks like. Pretty cool. And yeah, the tips do feel very soft right now. And like I've said before, with these kind of gel brushes, they will get crispy, and that's normal as they dry. I think before I said maybe 10 or 15 hours they'll still feel soft, but I was wrong. That was a little bit too much of a guess, too big of a guess. More like 4 or 5 hours they'll start to dry out. Excuse me. Now, one thing I noticed yesterday, as it was kind of drying out, I was feeling it and pulling it this way. Not really pulling big deal, but just pulling my fingers across the surface of it and feeling those gel tips. And as it was drying, apparently that actually helped the tips to all curl in a certain direction. It all curled toward the front of the brush in the direction I was pulling. And so if I would have just kind of, scrambled it up like that and let it sit, nothing wrong with that, of course, but then they might have curled in a bunch of weird directions. Now, I don't know if that's beneficial at all. I don't know if you'd ever want them to curl a certain way. Probably not. But it was an interesting point. All of a sudden, at the end of the day, when my tips got crispy, I looked at them and I noticed that they were all curled toward the center of the knot in the direction I had kind of stroked them like a pet dog, But that's probably just the ultimate definition of trivia. I don't think that information is going to help anybody. All right, so the Pereira bowl, a great bowl for this knot. Very happy with that. I like the sound that this one makes. It's a smooth sounding bowl. The 3D lather bowl that I have is hollow inside because of the 3D construction. It's like a honeycomb pattern to prevent you from using too much of the plastic material, but the honeycomb, of course, retains a nice bit of strength to it. Whereas this guy is solid, so he's heavier, but I mean, not heavy. And because of that lack of hollowness, you really have a nice sound, a smoother sound with this bowl. So that was a good one today. And I think it was just 20 milliliters of water that we used with 30 seconds of loading. And boy, could definitely reduce that next time for sure. And I may even try to make a note in my log about, even if it's totally dry, 30 seconds is too much. And then maybe that'll help me next time not to quite overdo it. But as you said, it didn't really take a whole lot of water to straighten it out. And I really feel like it was in a good place. The Lab Blue, the Med Prep here did great. There are these Israeli reds. And some people say, and then there are these other reds that have like this red wrapper, but they weren't Israeli reds. And then those are the same as the Personas with the white plastic container that I was telling you about, with the blue and the gold band and the red Persona word. Those are platinum says it in red there, and I think those might be the same as the ones in the red. Anyway, I need to do some good research and nail that down, right? Just so I'm good with it. There's some cheap ones that are made in bulk that are just, say, like Persona Platinum Comfort Coated. And I think those are exactly the same as the Lab Blues, for instance. So they are, you can tell there's some good guys out there who have some good information to help us in sorting through all these. But in the end, try them out, and whatever you like the best is what you should go for. But the reason it might be good to identify these is because if you discover that those comfort coated ones really are the same as Lab Blues, and the Lab Blues cost a lot more, now you can buy the one that's the same for a lot less, and that can help you out. So I do like the grouping of the brand of Persona blades. I could definitely be happy if I was just stuck with that brand. Most of them seem to work pretty well. Now the Persona Platinums that I have used a good bit will often work really well in a razor. Every once in a while it's not a good match. It's not quite as cross-compatible, as much of a Swiss Army knife of a blade as like my Nasset and my Gillette Silver Blues are. But that's okay. That's okay. When they hit often, and when they do hit, they hit well. So for me, they're a very good blade. All right. Well, that was a good shave. I'm glad that I had a break to where I could kind of go off script a little bit and bring you that soap, because it is the Omega hard puck, and it looks like almost like a clamshell. It's two kind of oval things, and of course it's together. It doesn't open up, but it just looks like a round clamshell. And you're like, what am I going to fit this in, right? So it's an unknown soap, but if you want a long-lasting, high-performing soap, and I believe it's at a reasonable price, even when it's not on sale. And so I'll bet it's more popular over maybe in the European market than it is here in America. And of course, it's a hard soap, so it doesn't seem as artisan as great soaps like Stirling and Barrister and Mann and Declaration Grooming and Noble Otter and all those guys. But definitely worthy of consideration if you are a hard puck aficionado. I need to make sure that it's in my hard pucks list, because sometimes people ask when they hear about a hard puck going out of style if there are others, and I need to make sure that one's in my list because it's a quality product for sure. All right, well, there we go. I hope this has been a good experience for you guys. Oh yeah, let's do some. This is a kind of blue aquatic, and so I think, oh well, yeah, I've got Dunshire, which is Aquadigio in the aquatic family. So that should kind of line up pretty well, be complementary. So the Med Prep, I think it maybe had 2 uses on it. Wasn't brand new. Excellent, excellent shaver here. Worked very well with the Karve in combination with the A solid bar base plate, giving me a nice close shave with a great degree of comfort. All right, and thank you so much for joining me. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope that you guys have a great day. Take care.